Hi there again. My name is David Austin, and today I wanted to revisit a blog I wrote not that long ago regarding Sitecore dictionaries. The blog in question is called Using Sitecore Dictionaries in XM Cloud. You can see it here on the screen. The right way, the wrong way, and the creative way. And I do just that. I go through how, at least in my opinion, how you can use a dictionary the right way, how you can use it the wrong way, uh, and the creative way. And we're going to go through each one of those today. So let's get started. So we're back into content editor. I've got two sites set up here and two different approaches to the dictionary, kind of that I go over in the blog. In the first site, we've got a more functional structure to it. In the second approach, we've got more of an alphabetical approach to it. And you might have one preference over the other. Your client might prefer one way or the other. It's a conversation you're going to have in terms of perhaps the extent of the usage of the dictionary, how often it might be updated, or just, how many entries you might have might change how you approach organizing your dictionary. You might not have any folders here at all. Maybe you just have, you know, your CTA labels, the company name, that type of thing. So it's a conversation I highly recommend having early on before development starts, just so that, when it's built out, obviously you can change it, but it's best to start it off on the right foot. So, in the functional approach, we might have a general section here where we've got things like the company name, the copyright. Maybe we've got a card section where we've got the CTA article label, so we can say, is it a read more? Is it a learn more? Maybe the video label where we've got, watch this. Maybe we've got a functional section where we've got things like the proper date format for that the company wants all dates in. But you can organize these in any which way you'd like. The other beauty of this approach is a lot of these labels are agnostic to their use. So the phrase won't be used as the variable name because obviously the company could change. The copyright message might have to be updated for a new year. We don't necessarily want to call this read more because maybe down the road it actually wants to be learn more or read this. So giving it a more agnostic approach to the value will make it easier for someone to understand its purpose. So I now know that this label is used on video cards. This label is used on article cards. I kind of get an idea in terms of where it's going to be used. The second approach, like I said, is more of a traditional dictionary where we might have the company name under C. Maybe under, R, somebody might think of doing read more, where I have the read more key and I might have this. There's nothing wrong with this, but obviously, if I change this to learn more, if I'm on the site and I want to change learn more, I might be looking under L and I'm not seeing it. So for a content author, it might not immediately be obvious where to go looking for, to update the text for learn more if it's ever been changed and so forth. So that's just something to consider in terms of how you might organize your dictionary. It is a completely personal choice, and you will have your, you know, own preferences in terms of how you want it to be organized. Now, the one thing that the dictionary is not is a place to store content. and I talk about this in the blog. Most dictionary entries are going to be short, sweet. They're not going to contain a lengthy paragraph. They shouldn't. If you ever get to the point where you're writing a full sentence, you got to be asking yourself, should this not be a data source content? Can you do HTML in some of these? Yes. I might have, let's say, a table entry here. We're gonna create a tables folder, and we're gonna call it uh, table footnote, and we're gonna have table footnote. Now we might want to say as of, but maybe I want to reference a say a disclosure or terms of condition or service at the bottom of the page, and I want to do, sup one. You can do this. There's nothing to say you can't do HTML in this. Um, it might not be recommended. You do have to do additional work on the front end to support now, rich text effectively within your dictionary. You can do a dangerously insert script type method to get that to show properly. That might be something you want to, decide as a group, that if you're going to support that or you want to have it be stored in another manner. But it is certainly possible. But these entries should be short and sweet. They should not contain, a whole bunch of content. Now, that said, there's nothing to say that you can't have a generic lorem ipsum text in here. Maybe you want for, when you're in edit mode in Pages, you want all of your rich text, if it's empty, to show a particular value right out the gate, just so that it shows. You could fully add lorem ipsum text in here, that this is our standard lorem ipsum text to show for a page if it doesn't have content. There's ways to do that and still make it editable. But in whether you're using it for a functional or you're using a traditional dictionary, keep those entries short and sweet. Don't make them where your clients have to go in to update content regularly. Often cases, your dictionary entries, you're going to probably come in here once, twice, 3 times a year, maybe at most, to update some of these values. They shouldn't necessarily need to be coming in here daily or weekly or even monthly to update the values. If they are, that information probably should be in a data source and incorporated differently into the website. So that's just something to keep in mind there. So we talked about kind of the options in terms of organizing. We've talked a little bit about how not to organize your content. But there obviously are way more ways you can use the dictionary than you presently are. I will admit I didn't heavily use this as much as I probably should have or could have in the past implementations. And it's got its own unique power to it. Obviously, it supports multiple languages, which is certainly key if you're ever implementing a multilingual site. But it has other uses. I can specify any uses of date and time on a site or in a particular format, and I can utilize that here and implement it in all cases. And if it ever needs to change, I now have to update it in one location. I can say where my company exists, and I can set this, the time zone for that. And hey, if the company ever moves time zones, or you need information presented in a different time zone for particular purposes, you can set it and reference that time zone across the site and then switch it if you ever need to. There's a lot of cases where, you know, you can use the dictionary for more than just, the company name. You might have regex patterns for dealing with, extracting the company name out of particular sources of material, or other things that I haven't even thought of. You could all be using those within the dictionary. So definitely highly give it a chance, a usage in your next implementation. But the main key, more than anything, um, be consistent. Don't mix these two approaches. Pick one, stick with it. Um, both will serve you well, but just be consistent. It'll save you the headaches, but it'll also save your clients headaches. Anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about today. Nothing crazy. Um, hope you all have a great day. Cheers.